if you're ready to stand on the line, if you're ready to fight back and serve it to the criminals trying to enslave you and steal your wealth through monetary creation and exorbitant taxation, you're in the right place. Welcome back to another edition of the Prepper Recon Podcast. Whether your plan is to bug out or bug in, CampingSurvival.com has all of your preparedness needs, including fish antibiotics, long-term storage food, water filters, bug-out bags, and first aid kits. Use coupon code PrepperRecon for 5% off your entire order at CampingSurvival.com.
When disaster strikes, it's too late to prepare. PrepperRecon.com offers MOLLE-compatible individual first aid kits for your home, auto, or bug-out bag. These kits have everything you need to address a traumatic injury, including an Israeli battle dressing, quick clot, EMT shears, suture kit, Steri-strips, tourniquet, ACS chest seal, tough strip bandages, gauze, and so much more. $89 includes shipping. To buy your individual first aid kit, go to PrepperRecon.com and click the store tab at the top of the homepage. Order today before it's too late.
Today's guest is David Kobler, a.k.a. SouthernPrepper1. David, welcome back to the show.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm glad I'm here.
Absolutely. So we've got a big announcement today. Our new book, The 7-Step Survival Plan, is now available. Now, David, do you think this is a good book for new preppers?
I think it's the best one because it gives you enough information, but it doesn't overwhelm you. And that's important because if you're studying a new subject and they throw a huge textbook at you when you were in school, it's almost overwhelming. So basically you're going to get the information you need to get started. And that's the biggest thing. You got to get started. So we're not going to overwhelm you with a ton of information. We're going to give you the key points you need to start working on.
Yeah, and we tried to cover all the basics, but now just besides new preppers, this could also be a really good book for seasoned preppers because sometimes they'll neglect important aspects of prepping, won't they? And that's a common problem. Folks will get pigeonholed into guns and ammo, and they'll neglect medical supplies and training and food storage, won't they?
Definitely. This will let the seasoned prepper read the book and then take a step back and say, am I covering all my bases? Am I covering everything to be a well-rounded prepper? So this is really what that book is doing. It's either good for the beginner to get him started or for the more veteran preppers say, you know what, I'm covering all my bases. Let me move forward like what I'm doing.
And then there's a lot of folks that listen to my show and they go to your YouTube channel and they've been prepping for a while and they've got a lot of this stuff down pat, but we've got all this stuff coming up lately. We've got Jade Helm. That's a big topic, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the show. And we've got the Shemitah prophecies and the blood moons, and then you've got all the secular analysts that are saying that we could have some type of a really big market event this fall. And we've got the political tensions with the rest of the world and $18 trillion in debt. And who thinks that can keep going, right? And so folks are more and more starting to wake up and realize that it's time to start getting serious about prepping, and they're going to their friends that know about it, and they're bombarding them with questions. And for a lot of them, it might just be easier to say, here, read this book and take a step back, take a breath, because what it does is it tries to help them focus on the priorities, which number one, you got to get yourself straight. You got to, get rid of addictions. You got to make sure you're spiritually prepared. You got to get in a decent shape to where, you can get outside and do a little manual work, because we've seen that, right? Last winter, lots of people were just killing over with heart attacks up north, shoveling snow off their roof, right?
Definitely. That's why I live in the South, so I don't have that threat.
Yeah, but now here we get our own problems though. Down here in Florida, where I'm at, hurricanes, and then it'll blow a tree over in your driveway. So you got to get out there with a chainsaw and cut that thing up. So you got to be in shape to do that. That'll give you a heart attack as quick as the snow will.
Yeah, and getting in shape is absolutely free. You don't have to go to a gym. There's so many things on YouTube or on the internet that will show you how to get in shape and it's free. And that's probably the biggest prepping thing, being in shape. In a survival situation, your body's going to be taxed already. And if you're 100 pounds overweight, you're not probably going to make it. You've got to be in prime shape. The reason a lot of times soldiers get severely injured in combat, severely injured, but they recover because their body is in tip-top shape. So I urge preppers, get in shape. It doesn't cost anything. And even if there's not a survival situation, it is going to extend your life. It is going to make you have a better quality of life. When you can walk and run with your grandchildren or your kids, you're going to have a much better life.
And you mentioned YouTube, and you know what I found on YouTube? I found cardio kickboxing classes. So,
awesome.
and you can either stream it from your computer and just do it right there, or if you've got a little Roku box, you can send it to the Roku box and do it in front of your TV, and you get a workout and you get a little sort of self-defense training in there. At least you're getting your body used to throwing punches and doing some kicks, even if it's, you're probably not going to be able to take on Bruce Lee or anything, but I guess you got your Glock for that, right?
Yes. Yeah, just being able to throw a punch. And a lot of people have never really been in a fight. So getting any type of practice for self-defense is important. In today's society, crime is on the rise. I watch the local news, I watch the national news, and it's just more and more people are hurting other people. So we need to be able to protect ourselves and protect our loved ones.
And then after that, in the book, we talk about budgeting, because that's an important topic. A lot of preppers, they wake up, they say, "Oh man, I got to buy all this stuff," and they go max out the credit card, and they get all the cool stuff, and they got the $1,500 night vision sight, and no way to pay for it, and they're paying 18% interest on it, and they start their own stuff hits the fan moment. Long before a real crisis ever rolls around.
Definitely. I got an email the other day. The guy was just starting prepping. He said he had $1,000 still left on his credit card. He was wondering what to buy. I haven't answered him back yet, but I'm going to tell him, work on paying that credit card off. There's a lot of things you can do for free, but being debt-free or close to debt-free as you can is so much more important than anything else. Because it might be an economic problem, and you need to position yourself to survive. In today's market, with people losing their jobs, people need to concentrate on paying the debt down and becoming more self-sufficient.
And then we use a lot of my wife's wisdom in the book, where she does a lot of couponing, which allows us to do a huge part of our food storage for zero money, because she'll get the stuff that's buy one get one, so it's going on our regular grocery budget. And if it's a buy one get one thing, then the thing that she was already going to buy for our groceries, then she'll get two of them, so that free one actually just goes into our long-term food storage. And then you can use coupons on top of the buy one get one stuff, and we talk about all that stuff in the book, and how to roll those the rewards from the drugstores like CVS and Rite Aids and Walgreens. They have all these rewards points that allow you to get basically free stuff every single week. And a lot of the stuff's not stuff that you're going to use. It's stuff that you don't use, but sometimes you need to just roll the bucks so that they don't expire, so that you'll still have the bucks the next time. But it's free, so you throw that stuff in a box and just write barter on it, right?
Yes, definitely. Or definitely right now you might know someone that could use that. So anytime you can help yourself financially, we need to do it in today's economy.
Yeah, and you might know somebody that needs it, or you might be able to donate it to your church.
Definitely. Someone will be able to use it.
And, of course, every time we have a new book out, we have a big survival gear giveaway. So this time we're going to be giving away a individual first aid kit from Prepper Recon. So you can go to the Prepper Recon store and click that, and you can see all the stuff that's in there. We got Israeli battle dressing in there, quick clot, TK4 tourniquet, suture kit, lots of good stuff for an advanced trauma kit. And it's small, it's compact. You can keep it in your car, keep it in your bug out bag, or just keep it in your medical supplies at home so that you always have that. Now, David, what's the first thing a new prepper needs to do to get ready for whatever once they've covered the budget and getting in shape and taking care of themselves?
They basically need to ask themselves what they're preparing for, and that will be the first thing. You need to think of a short term. Make sure you have a bug out bag. You need to have a time and a place to go if you have an emergency. So have a bug out bag and have a plan. Try to get as many people that you know prepping with you. It's so much easier to row a boat when you got 5 or 6 people rowing. If you're the only one in your family trying to prep and row that boat, it's going to be hard. It's going to cause a lot of problems. So get other people prepping with you. And it might not be at your level of prepping. If you can talk your wife or your husband and say, hey, let's start a garden this year, that's prepping. So you need to start moving forward.
Now, me and you don't really have much operational security going as far as on the national level because we're kind of out there now. But for folks that that is something that people have to think about. They have to think about who they tell and what they tell and how much they tell. How do you balance that with trying to form a prepper group or get other people involved?
It's a hard question. For me, my operational security is being public. The more public I am, the safer I am personally, just because I'm out there. But for the average prepper that's not on YouTube or writing books or doing anything, you have to be very careful what you say and what you show people. So don't show people anything you have until you realize that they're a prepper and they're on the same team as you. But you got to be very careful because, what you tell and say, people remember these things. And if they know you got a year's supply of food and something bad happens, they're going to be at your front door. So be careful, but you have to develop a team. If you don't, you're going to be by yourself. There's no way to take care of yourself if you have no one to call on. Right now in our training, we're going to our prepper houses, and we're actually doing scenarios. We're attacking other preppers' houses. And what we're finding is, guess what? One family, 2 family is not going to be able to protect the house. It's going to take a lot more. So you need a team. So you got to get out there. You got to be wise. Don't brag and say, I got a year's supply of food. You're going to have to approach people, and usually it might be a hobby. It might be hunting. It might be fishing, camping. Those are places where you can start talking to someone, and eventually you're going to know. You talk about camping in a backpack, and they pull out this nice bag, and you can see that it's definitely set up as a bug out bag. That will let you talk more with these people.
And like we said at the beginning of the show, prophecy is getting to be a big topic, especially amongst in the churches, some more than others. But it's something that a lot of folks are starting to talk about now, and it can be a good conversation starter, right?
Oh, definitely. You're talking about prophecies and also talking about world events that are happening right now. You can bring up conversations with people and say, all right, if something bad happened right now, what would you do? And they might, bring the conversation with, well, we started putting stuff back. So, yeah, you need to, use any type of event. The things in Texas going on, the flooding in Texas, you can, talk to your neighbor about the flooding in Texas and maybe slowly move it around to prepping and being prepared. You can tell real quick if they're, interested in that. So use events that are happening in the news to start conversations about prepping.
And what's the most commonly overlooked area of preparedness?
Oh, that's probably the most overlooked is really not overlooked. It's buying things, putting it on the shelf, but not practicing with them. I know so many preppers that have rocket stoves, they have small solar kits, but they're all still in the boxes. So it might not be buying something, but it's actually using your equipment, making sure it works, learning how to use it is probably the overlooked thing. Practice, practice, practice.
And can you give us a cheap alternative to MREs for food storage?
Yes, MREs are wonderful just because they store a long time, but you can make MREs in the sense of, energy bars, granola bars. There's so many new products out there that can store well. They're lightweight, that you can use just like MREs. And you normally pick what you eat. Just don't buy something because it's like lightweight or it might do good in your bug out bag or in your house. Buy something that you like to eat, because in troubled times, if the food doesn't taste good, that's not going to be good for your morale, especially if you have your kids or wife with you.
Did you have a big garden this year?
I have probably a little bit, a medium-sized garden. Not my biggest, that's for sure. I'm working on some infrastructure projects, and I've been prepping a while. A lot of people start off with a huge garden, and then they realize they can't maintain it. I would rather do a smaller garden and maintain it well than a large garden and let things go to waste, or you look over there and there's weeds everywhere and you get discouraged. So smaller but maintain is a better answer for most people.
But definitely get out there and do it, no matter what size, to get over that learning curve at least first, right?
Oh, definitely. There's times I plant things and bugs attack it or things die. And right now I can learn how to do it better. But if this was a survival situation and you planted your corn and you lost your whole crop of corn and you were counting on that to feed your family, it could be really detrimental to your survival or to your well-being. So the more you practice now, the more you put in the ground, and put things in the ground that come back year after year. Fruit trees are excellent. They give you shade and they produce fruit. So anything you can plant and only plant once, asparagus, great things, blueberries, raspberries, are the way to go.
And are you into canning?
I do a little bit of canning. I do a lot more dehydrating. I like dehydrating. But I set up to do a lot of canning. My parents, when I grew up, we canned. My dad was a Baptist minister, and if we did not have a huge garden, and I'm talking huge garden, we would have starved. We canned everything we ate. So that's where I learned it, so I could go back to it. I recommend jars, as many jars as you really can afford. I try to have about 100 jars per person in my family. So you need about typically 400 jars, and that's different sizes, just not all quarts. And that will let you get through that year.
It's time for a quick break, and we'll be right back. The dollar's lost over 90% of its purchasing power since 1971. Silver, on the other hand, has proved to be a very stable form of wealth preservation over the years. And where do you buy silver? Silver.com, of course. Silver.com offers fantastic prices on silver and gold. Check out Silver.com today.
Essential oils offer a natural, chemical-free solution to so many of our daily needs. Oils can be used for just about anything, including fighting off bacteria, to de-stress, ward off bugs, relieve arthritis pain, and boost the immune system. Young Living Essential Oils offers the highest quality products and educational resources, so you'll learn what to use and how to use it. Go to Living a Life of Love, YLEO.com. That's Living a Life of Love, YLEO.com, to order your starter kit today. And what do you think is the best form of backup power?
I am very partial to solar. The reason is it's quiet. Down here in the South, I have lots of sun, and it's renewable. If you have a diesel generator, you got to go out and get that diesel. In a worst-case event, that fuel might not be available. For me, it's solar. It's quiet, and it does exactly what I want it to do.
And that's another one of those things, like you were saying, that you got to put it together and get it operational. We were talking before the show, and you brought up a great point about you might not want to be using it every day for your general electrical needs, because you're going to wear out your batteries if you do that, right? Correct.
I mean, you want to have a happy balance of using it, making sure it works, but you don't want to put such a tax on your system. I want my system to be as new as possible in an emergency. So, have that balance of using it but not abusing it, especially your batteries. Batteries definitely have a certain amount of cycles in their life. So don't abuse something. I want mine fresh.
And you mentioned you were working on some infrastructure projects. What do you got going on the homestead this year?
Oh, I have lots. I'm building a wall. This wall is part to give me a little bit more space next to the house for an addition. It's also, the wall is a great security barrier. So I'm working on that. I just loaded a video. I'll be loading another one. I'm getting close to having it finished. I'm made what I call a refugee center. It's a campsite on my property. I have a lot of friends and family that I love. They have retreats, but they're not set up as well as they should be, or they're set up closer to the city. So in a worst-case event, they're going to have to leave. I can't take care of everybody, but I would love to be able to take care of friends and family and at least provide them with a very level spot, a place where they can camp. And that's what I'm working on now. I did a video on that, just to be ready in case people show up that I can't turn away.
And let's talk about battle rifles. The left doesn't think we need those. Do you agree with that?
I totally think we need battle rifles. I think the United States government should issue you, every male and female of proper age, a rifle. They do that in other countries, and they're allowed to keep that rifle, and they have a very low crime rate. Guns don't kill people. It's the people that operate that guns that's the threat. Now, granted, yes, there's people out there that has mental issues, they have drug abuse issues. They shouldn't have firearms. But most people in the presence of a firearm are more safe than if only the bad guy has them. I'm partial to the AR-15 just because that weapon system is a weapon system I've learned all my life on through the military. It's also the most popular weapon in the military, so that's why I picked the AR-15. That might not be the best weapon if you're out west or you have areas that are miles and miles of clear shot. You might need to go to a different weapon system. But for me, it's the AR-15.
And do you like AKs?
I love AKs. I actually like AK. The bullet of an AK is actually, I think, a little bit better, superior than an AR. But the problem is I've been in government warehouses literally with pallets and pallets stacked to the ceiling, billions of rounds. I don't know how many rounds. So the availability of 5.56 in this country in a survival situation greatly outnumbers the AK rounds that are stocked in. I know a lot of preppers have AK rounds, 7.62 by 39, but it is no comparison to the 5.56 that is stockpiled inside the United States. People will say, well, that's the government ammo. If you look at any country that has fallen, any third world country, when the country goes into turmoil, guess what? The ammo, the grenades, the weapons, they get sold on the black market, especially if it's an economic collapse. People need money. So there's going to be plenty of 5.56 out there available.
So you might want to keep a little cash and some silver and some barter stuff around for when that day comes, huh?
Oh, definitely. It will be there. I've been in other places in the world, and guess what? You could readily get anything you wanted with a little bit of cash.
Now, and then, of course, our founder said that it was for the security of a free state is the reason that we needed to be able to have firearms. And it wasn't for hunting and it wasn't for home defense, but it was our responsibility to maintain a free country. And now, speaking of the security of a free state, what's your opinion on Jade Helm?
Jade Helm, I've read and I've watched a lot of things on the internet. There's a lot of information out there, and the truth is mixed in with all the conspiracy theories. There's some facts in there. Jade Helm has some legitimate training purposes. I mean, there's definitely people are going to learn things that will save their lives overseas. But there's this little thing inside Jade Helm that they could be using for training to come after the United States people. Now, I'm not saying that this is even close to martial law at this point. Not even close. People are saying martial law is going to happen. No, when martial law happens, there's not going to be any training exercise. It's going to happen very quickly. There's a lot of exercises going on in the world. My son is deployed overseas. He's involved in an exercise right now, dealing with Ukraine. The Canadians will be doing something very similar at the same time we're doing Jade Helm. I think it's called Maple Resolve, and that will involve Canadian and NATO troops. There's exercises going on all over the world. Might not be connected with Jade Helm, but it's connected with mobilization, with threats. China is threatening us. Japan and Australia will be doing a joint, I think a first time ever, a joint exercise in July. So there's a lot of things going on. Russia and China are doing joint exercises as we speak. Scotland is having an exercise called Joint Warriors. There's just tons and tons of these. Might not be tied in with Jade Helm, but they are definitely tied in with a rise of conflict in the United States, in the world. I believe, and this is just me, my opinion, it might be having to deal with an economic problem. When you have economic problems in the world, you will have a war. That's one way they can solve it. So we don't know what's going on, but Jade Helm, I don't like it. I wish our government was more open with us, but they're not. Even look at the trade pact that Obama is trying to push through. A lot of those parts are totally secret. That's not, what I want as a government. I want things to be open, just like most Americans. So there's a lot of things going on. Jade Helm is not martial law happening between July and September, but there's some underlying things that I don't like.
But now, when you were in the military, you essentially, they tried to, as close to possible, replicate the area that you would be operating in for a training ground, right? When they try to try to train where you're going to operate, and so isn't that a little like upsetting that they're training on American streets, because that doesn't sound like they're training for a foreign battle if they're training on American streets, would you say?
I can see both sides of the story, and I can see you training your battle environment you think you're going to be fighting in. So that, to me, is very scary if they're training in the streets and they're training in the American atmosphere. I also worry about Jade Helm with accidents. If you have all these people running around, some in civilian clothes, you have a higher risk of an accident. A bad guy or a good guy, a deputy sheriff seeing suspicious activity, not knowing it's a training exercise. Things can happen when you're off that military post, out of that controlled environment, and dealing with the general public.
And the government's been doing this for several years. They've been having this type of training in L.A. and Miami, and right before I got out of Fort Lauderdale, they had training exercises there where they were training to round up dissidents and put them in a detainment center. So this has been going on for a long time. I just think that Jade Helm's going to be sort of the largest kind of coordinated one that we've seen yet. But it's just more of the same that we've been seeing.
Correct. And it could be also used to get us used to seeing U.S. troops on the street.
Conditioning.
To desensitize us.
Yeah, conditioning.
Yes.
And then you have to. It's supposed to wrap up on September 15th, which is like 2 days after the Jewish Shemitah, which is when the prophecy. It's not really a prophecy, but it's a cycle. It's a 7-year cycle of in the Jewish calendar that debts would be forgiven, and for a rebellious country it can be a curse, and for an obedient country it can be a blessing. And the past two Shemitahs for America 7 years ago in September was the stock market crash that we lost 777 points in one day, which represented a 7% decline. And then 7 years before that on the Jewish Shemitah was 9/11. So when we're looking at track records, the last two have not been very good. So Jonathan Kahn, the guy that sort of studies all of this stuff, is saying, this coming September might be a good time to watch out. it's curious that Jade Helm is wrapping up right at that time, and so it kind of makes you wonder that if there's some folks at the Pentagon that have been watching some Jonathan Cahn videos.
Definitely. Do they think there's some truth to this? And they'll be well trained up if something does happen right at that point.
Yeah, and they'll be pre-positioned. They'll have their equipment, they'll have the troops, they'll have the gear, and they'll be pre-positioned for anything if it does go down. That's for sure. So the 7-Step Survival Plan, great book to help folks get ready for Shemitah or the economic collapse or whatever happens to come. So and that's out in Kindle and paperback. The audio's already produced. Kevin Pierce did that for us again. Same guy that did Retreat Security and Small Unit Tactics. He just does a really, really good job on the reading of that. For folks that just don't like to read, or they don't have time. I don't have time to read. My books, I have to consume them on a MP3 when I'm at the gym or out doing yard work or doing projects around the house and things like that. Because if I'm not at the computer writing or doing a show or something, then I've got to be up doing stuff because I've got so much going on, and that's the only way I can consume books. So if it's not in audio, it's very hard for me to ever get around to getting through a book. So that should be out hopefully 2 to 3 weeks is usually about the time frame that it takes Audible to approve it. So it's already been produced. Everything's done. We're just waiting for them to push the button and say it's finalized and approved. So the audio fans out there, no more than 3 weeks. Hopefully 2, maybe even less than that. David, any other words about the book?
No, I think it's great for the seasoned prepper, and it's great if you're trying to get someone else to prep and they just won't listen to you, give them the book. Hopefully they'll just read that book, and then the light will go off on their head.
Yeah, and it really helps folks prioritize that stuff because it can be so overwhelming. And I think that's a lot of the reason that people don't prep, don't you? Because they look at so much of it, and it's like there's too much to do, and I can't do all of this, and they don't know where to start, and it freaks them out.
Definitely.
And so this kind of helps to take care of that. All right, David, thanks so much for taking time to come on the show.
Oh, I love being here. Look forward to the next time.
In the Days of Noah, Book 2, Persecution by best-selling author Mark Goodwin. A globalist conspiracy transpires by way of a false flag attack against America's energy infrastructure. Noah and Cassandra Parker witness a complete economic meltdown, which is intentionally triggered by the event. The assault is blamed on patriots and Christians who are rounded up into detention centers across the country. Noah and his friends must take action to prepare for the meltdown and defend against the totalitarian regime, which is gunning for their freedom and, quite possibly, their very lives. Get your copy of The Days of Noah, Book 2, Persecution for Kindle, paperback or audio edition at Amazon.com today.